Welcome back, guys. I'm Zell, and today we're talking about Spyderco's Caly 3.5. Alright guys, here's our Spyderco Caly 3.5 model C144CFE. And with the Caly we get carbon fiber scales and pretty good hardware. It's got deep enough recesses we shouldn't have a problem. The only issue here is we got an itty bitty lanyard tube and we're pinned across the bottom. So no disassembly of this thing. If you have problems, you're going to have to send it back to Spyderco. And we do have the nice waterfall style deep carry pocket clip, wire deep carry pocket clip that's tip up left or right. And as we look down the top of it, we've got a nice well-centered blade, and it's just a very, very pretty knife. Closed dimensions give us about 4.3 in length, a nice svelte handle thickness of 0.365, so very skinny here, and a closed height of 1.52, so it's kind of average there. And we'll do a little bit of size comparison. This is a 3.5 inch blade. This is just over a 3-inch blade in our Delica. So, not as much blade. Our blade to handle ratio is maybe a little off there, with this one being a bit ahead. And another one that's very similar is a Spyderco Mantra. These up here in views where we can see them all. Mantra, again, just over a 3-inch blade. And we'll get the Spydercos out of the way. And here we have an SE Zancudo. Again, slightly shorter blade. And just for fun, there would be your buck 110. So it's a 3.5 inch blade or 3.4 or so inch blade in a pretty small package. And that blade is made out of ZDP 189, but not just ZDP 189. You can see that line across the bottom. What we have is a clad blade, and clad means we have, below that line is ZDP 189. Above that line is 420J2. And what they've done is they've taken a thin piece of ZDP 189 and they have sandwiched it between, you can see there, and yeah, you can kind of see it. They have sandwiched it between two pieces of 420J2. And what that's designed to do is give you the flexibility and the stain resistance of the 420J2 while maintaining the hardness, edge holding ability of the ZDP 189. And it also gives you your nice line across the blade, which makes for a very nice looking blade. And the blade is a little over 3.4 inches long. They say 3.5, but I'm not sure where they're measuring the extra 1/10 of an inch. And an edge length of about 3.1 with a stock thickness of 0.118 or right about 3 millimeters. And this thing also doesn't weigh very much at about 3 ounces. So it's a fairly hefty knife, made out of some pretty solid materials, but it weighs very little. It weighs half an ounce more than a Delica, but you're getting about 0.4 inches more blade, 0.3, 0.4, somewhere around there. And carbon fiber and a more substantial build with our stainless liners and everything being stainless back here. And beautiful thing about these Spyderco leaf-shaped blades, especially ones made out of ZDP 189 and M4 and some of these other steels, is they cut, and they cut extremely well. Being so thin behind the edge makes for one heck of a nice blade as far as EDC and utility goes. They're not hard use blades, but pretty darn nice for your everyday carry, letter opening, getting into packages, cutting up cardboard. All those things that you may need to do, especially if you do anything where you need to do detail work. This ZDP 189 holds a fine edge for a good long time, and it's just, once you've got it sharp, it's just dang sharp. And from here, we'll go to our pause and read card, and I'll clean up this paper and be back with you in just a moment. Alright, our pivot and lock mechanism. We've got kind of your standard Spyderco pivot, except this time we've got the sleeve. The female side's a sleeve, and then we've got the torque screw going down in it instead of the sleeve and 2 torque screws, but still kind of a standard use Spyderco pivot. We'll talk about it again here in just a minute, because our lock mechanism is a standard back lock. It's very short. Our distance from the lock up to the blade is very short. And that's fine. It puts it in a good place to unlock and lock the knife, especially if you're doing things one-handed. But it's a little odd to me for it to be that short. I haven't experienced any problems with it, but just something to note. And ergonomically, well guys, we're back to this Spyderco thing. Spyderco just does a darn good job. However, I do have one quibble with this one. Even though it has a very similar handle shape to our Delica, which we all know the Delica is just a beautiful thing, this hump right here makes this knife feel thin, where it gets real thin right here. And it's not a big deal, but for me, it makes the knife feel smaller than it should. You know, may not affect you. I've got somewhere between medium and large hands, so it's just may just be a thing for me. If you've got hands a different size than mine, may be just perfect for you. But just wanted to note that, and otherwise everything's great. We've got the jimping right here. That all fits in good. A little bit of jimping in this 50-50 choil here, and it just does work pretty darn good for everything. It just feels a little thin. And now on to the one odd thing that just gets me. I don't understand. See our pivot screws there, both the female and the male side of that pivot screw. Why are they sticking out that far from the handle material? And not just sticking out, but this screw here, see if I can get some more light on that. Not only is it sticking out, but see how that screw is rounded around its outside, around the outside of the screw? So it doesn't even come down and sit flat like a normal cap screw would. Doesn't impress me. But it seems to be what Spyderco's doing on the entire Caly series. I don't know what their reasoning for it is. Sal, Eric, somebody else from Spyderco, if you want to let me know. You know, because if there is a justification for it, maybe it's fine. I'm just not a big fan of it. But anyhow, guys, this Spyderco Caly 3.5 is basically a really nice Delica at a longer blade length of just under 3.5 inches. Now, am I going to go out and buy one? I really love ZDP 189. You guys know that. And that should put this knife in my wheelhouse, right? Well, since I have one of these, no, it doesn't. If I had the ZDP 189 version of this, I would rather spend the $100 on the ZDP 189 version of this and another 20-some bucks on a deep carry pocket clip and carry one of those. Because for me, this knife is just priced out of what I'm willing to give. Is it overpriced for what you're getting? I don't think so. But it's priced out of what I'm willing to give for a backlock knife with ZDP 189. And I know ZDP 189 is clad. And if you live in an environment where that cladding is important, where you need that extra stain resistance, this thing may be perfect. I don't. I don't need that extra stain resistance that the cladding provides. And, you know, even though that line where the two steels meet is really cool, I can live without it. So, is it a great EDC knife? Absolutely. It is a wonderful EDC knife. It's just not my choice. My choice for EDC knife in this group of knives would be the Mantra. It has its problems as well, but it would be my choice. I know, you guys thought I forgot, but nope. We've got our Levi's and we have our Caly 3.5. And that's what we get whenever we get it fully seated in the pocket. And that is, wow, that thing is almost gone, but it's still enough to get a hold of to get it out of your pocket. And as I've said many times, this wire pocket clip is glorious. It's nice and rounded on all the edges, so whenever it does its job. It holds a knife in your pocket very well. Doesn't seem to be one that lets the knife lift if you get it caught on something, and it doesn't seem to get caught on things. These rounded edges kind of help mitigate that, and they also don't scratch things. So I really like the wire pocket clip, and this waterfall design really lets it sit down in there deep. And there's your distance there. So, you know, these knives take up a little bit of room in the pocket just because they're a Spyderco, and they've got this height here that we have to deal with if we want our spider hole. Anyhow, we'll get on out to the desk and finish this up. So that was the Caly 3.5. It's a really, really neat knife. I really do think it's a bit overpriced, but you know, that's kind of a perspective thing. I would rather, and it's also a Spyderco really jamming up this area of their knives. They've got so many knives that fit in this similar category. You've got the Mantra that fits in a similar category. All the Delicas fit in this category. And, you know, a few others. I lose track of all the Spydercos. But just to the ones I'm very familiar with, I would have a hard time purchasing the Caly 3.5 at that $180 or so. Especially with the Mantra out there. We get what I consider a fairly equivalent steel in M4. And it costs about the same. It's got, to me, a better handle, more ergonomic, a little less blade length, and it's got a better action. However, if you're looking for that back lock, and you're looking for that back lock with super steel, and ZDP 189, guys, is a wonderful steel. I rather love the stuff, as you know if you've watched the channel. The Caly 3.5, if that is what you're looking for, and you want the carbon fiber, and yes, the carbon fiber is just a tad slick, but it's still carbon fiber. The Caly 3.5 is a good one. So if that's what you're looking for, go for it. But just be aware that there are Spydercos with a fairly equivalent steel out there that come in about the same price and have some what I would consider better features. But you may not consider them to be better features, so anyhow, I'm going to drag this on way too long. I really appreciate you stopping by and talking about a pretty darn cool little knife with me for a few minutes. And you have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.